If you've ever had that panicky moment where you look at your bank account and it's not where you want to be, or a client is ending and your roster is not filling, and all of a sudden that sinking feeling in your stomach is like, oh no. I am about to share in this episode 3 ways to bring cash into your business now. And stick around to the end because I'm also going to talk about why these strategies are great for short term, but not necessarily the ones that you want to build a sustainable business for and from. And of course, I'll be sharing what to do instead. Welcome to another week of the Best Damn Coach podcast. I hope summer is treating you well. It is freaking hot in Arizona. And I feel like summer started off real slow. In the last couple of weeks, it feels accelerated because we are only 1.5 weeks away from the school year starting. And today, what I wanted to come in and bring you is a very tactical episode for which I'm going to be helping you really look at how to bring in quick cash into your coaching business. This is also going to be a little bit of a life update because this summer is atypical for us in preparation for school. We're going into a very different school year this year. My daughter is going to do school kind of hybrid, part-time there, part-time at home. And she said to me the other morning as we were talking about the school year starting, we took her to school to get her parking permit because she can park on campus for the first time. It's like all these things that are happening that kind of make me feel old and also are just a new season of life that we're stepping into. And she said, Mom, I'm never going to be like in a traditional high school experience, like day, like a full day for the rest of my life as I start my junior year. And it's really cool to be able to, see what happens in our home differently than what I got to experience as far as this lack of the traditional 9 to 5, this ability for both Justin and I to have freedom and to be able to accommodate, timing for things that they want to do and go to the grocery store at random times. I love them seeing all of this and then transferring that to even their junior year of school. And also, this is unique as we step into the school year because we are taking a gap year with our son before high school. So he is essentially homeschooling again. If you're new to the show, you'll know that we homeschool for several years before our son went into a traditional public school experience last year. And now we're taking a gap year of just building our own curriculum and just enjoying a lot of life and providing him opportunities to prepare for training and the things that really light him up because I think we can all agree once you hit high school and you go to college, it's like life accelerates. And he said to me the other day, Mom, it feels like you haven't even worked this summer. And I love that so much. I don't know, that's just like the biggest compliment I could hear from him as a 14-year-old. Part of it is he doesn't see that I'm up early, like 5 or 6 every morning, and I'm getting in several hours of work before he even usually wakes up. And that's exactly how I've done it by design. But it wasn't always this way, right? It started, I'm going to like reverse the clock a little bit just as a reminder. My first enter into coaching was all email coaching when the kids were little. I wasn't seeing clients in person. I was responding to essentially nutrition logs and nap times and evening times and doing all my business stuff when the kids were mostly asleep. And sometimes I couldn't just do that. Justin worked nights, so that was the heaviest time for me to pour into my business so I didn't break up, you know, interrupt the family time we had. And then that translated to more life coaching. So I was seeing clients, one to one. And then as we hit COVID and beyond, that was the heaviest caseload I'd ever had. I was seeing 8 or 10 clients a day, multiple days in a row. I was in it. And at that point, there was just so much support I needed inside of my business and outside of my business, honestly, just to keep our family running. Because like many of you, we were working full time, stretched. I'm running a business, he's running a business, plus he's PDing. Like there's a lot going on. So I remember at that time, though, I knew that wasn't necessarily sustainable for the season of life we're headed into. So I cast this vision for my business. And it was a vision that wasn't actually dictated by revenue. It was dictated by how many calls do I really want to be sitting on the computer with where I'm locked in at a specific time. And I kind of circulated back to this number of 3, maybe 4. I would see myself teaching in the BDC, Best Damn Coach, 1 or 2 times a week. And then the other 1 or 2 calls would be in specific smaller programs that vacillate throughout the year, or maybe a supplementary 1-to-one call. Fast forward, here we are years later. That vision is the reality. And I would say this is the first summer that I'm really feeling the fruits of that vision and holding boundaries that weren't really easy. And that meant saying no to people sometime and passing up on cash in order to hold the spaciousness of business. And so I share that because seasons happen. Where you are now will not be where you go. And today's episode is also to meet you where you're inevitably going to be at some point in your business, which is like, I want and need to make money right now because I have also very definitely been in those situations. And so today, that is my hope that I can give you some really tactical things to do that serve you if that's where you find yourself. So, cheers. Let's dive into that. But I want to teach you how to coach yourself specifically today, around what's going on inside of your pretty beautiful mind when something like this happens. So maybe it was a slow month. Maybe this summer finds you having some slow months. Maybe an expense like a taxes or something caught you off guard, or you have a medical bill, or maybe you just looked at your bank account and felt that little drop in your stomach because the client roster isn't where you want it to be, or you just lost a client. Inevitably, I think we're all going to feel that friction and that feeling at some point in our business. So I first want to just start by saying that that's normal and real. The goal of business, in my opinion, is to create consistency and a recurring baseline so that you can see the projection of your business and we start to mitigate that, what I would call, I don't know, like panicky scarcity moment that we can often feel in our belly when something that like that kind of hits. And so here's what's interesting. When that moment hits, most of us, like, we're not reaching for the long game strategy. Okay, great. I'm panicking. How can I build a sustainable business in 6 months? So I recognize that, but I also just want you to know that everything I'm sharing today is not going to build for you that consistency, that I would say that real steadfast baseline instead of this roller coaster experience. And you've heard me talk a lot on the show about towards and away from motivation. Today, what we're really focusing on is how to react from away from motivation, the kind of motivation that hits us when we're like, I don't like where I'm at. I got to do something different. And the reason it might be motivating us is for all those reasons I just mentioned. But ultimately, I want you to also hold the toward vision. What do you want to be able to do? Is it replacing a corporate salary? Is it paying your mortgage for your family consistently? Is it 10K months? Is it being able to put away $500 a month plus pay yourself $3,000 a month, in income and maybe retirement? I don't know what that is, but I really would encourage you to pause before we go any further and just check in with yourself. Do I have the toward vision? Because I don't want to sugarcoat today and say that this is what I want you to do all the time. But I had this brilliant question asked by one of my students, and I thought, man, I need to take this to the podcast in an office hour. So shout out to her. I think she's a regular listener. And I wanted to share some tactical things. So if you've ever felt that cash, bleh, I don't know how to describe it, panic, don't, you know, I don't want you to turn to just post more on Instagram. Boom, it's happening, because that's not really the answer necessarily. But I am going to give you what I'm going to call 3 tactical moves. And then I'm going to tell you why I don't want these to be your only moves specifically, and what actually solves the real problem that's happening here. So, this is where you take your notes out and we dive in. Number 1, the first thing that I want you to do in this situation is hunt for the low hanging fruit. And what I mean by that is start by reconnecting and looking at your list, your email list, your DMs. Hopefully, you have some sort of CRM or way you're managing or monitoring leads in some way. Your Stripe dashboard, I don't know, wherever you collect payments. This for me is the gold mine of where to start, because these are people that have already invested in your coaching services. So they trust you. Hopefully, they like you, and they may just be waiting for your next offer. And I think a lot of people in this situation make the assumption that those people are done. And so what I would do tactically and in a very service-driven way out of heart and make it personalized and customized is I would actually reach out to those people, to the customers and clients who are you already have that relationship with and check in on them. First off, hey, if they just said no on a sales call 30 days or 60 days ago, reach back out, connect. How's it going? Maybe you have a smaller bite offer that you can offer them. Maybe it's been a longer term client who is seeing you 2 to 3 times a month. Maybe it's like check back in and maybe there's a maintenance package that you can offer that looks slightly different, more of a one time a month session or something that they could definitely utilize in some capacity. To me, this is the absolutely one of the fastest ways to make money because you don't have to win over their trust. You're not going out to this colder market and just being like, post, 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 post. For me, that's not a solution. The other piece of this puzzle is that warmer market, the people you already have. And some of you might be thinking, but that's only like 5 people. That's fine. That's great. That's 5 more people than zero. What I want you to also do is just be honest. Hey, I am really interested in growing my coaching business right now. And you were a dream client. I loved working with you. If there's anybody in your network that you feel like you could introduce me to that I could serve, or I could be a guest on their podcast, or I could come teach for them in some capacity, I'm just, putting a big ask there that this is something that I would love to do, right? You have got to believe that there is some sort of connection point out there and be detached from it necessarily being that person that becomes your client. So, your homework on this first piece is to open up that CRM, open up where you're keeping track, your payment platform, whatever it is. And I encourage you just to list everyone who's said yes to you before, maybe even in the last year, and this is your jumping off point. This is your low hanging fruit action list. In fact, it was super cool. We just wrapped up the small bite offer cohort. And one of the last teachings I do is have them come up with a hot 10 or hot 20 list. This is exactly what we're doing. Small bite offer, or I'm sorry, low hanging fruit. And immediately I had someone reply back within the week. It was like, I already sold one just from that list that you had me make. And so I know this works because I do it myself, but I also see clients absolutely seeing success in this as well. All right. Number two, move, or I would say shift to start making in your brain is that sometimes the fastest path to cash is definitely not polished at all. It's not this beautiful web page or this evergreen funnel or this perfectly polished, I don't know, templates. It's the scrappy session, the scrappy pull together that maybe is kind of like, man, I've been meaning to test this and I'm going to just do this at a lower price point to test it and see if it works and let it be almost market research of this messy, real, and ready to serve piece. So part of what I'm sharing is the reason that some of you aren't making the cash and are stuck in taking action here is you want it to be pristine and perfect because your thought is everybody out there making cash has it nailed down. And I'm just going to be honest, that's an absolute no. So many of the programs I launched were just super messy. And I love that because I'm such a fan for you and for me is like be paid to build something, monetize as you build it. So I don't want it to be perfect. I want you to go out and be paid to build and offer and coach in something that's going to serve you. So maybe going back to the low hanging fruit is that that one person maybe does need a maintenance package. You've been thinking about it and you just say, hey, you are the perfect candidate that comes to mind. I've been thinking about doing this. I'm going to be charging, $1,500. But since you are somebody that I just know already and I love to serve, I'm going to do it for $1,000 or whatever, 797. And the goal being is I get to test the offer, I bring in cash, I'm learning, I'm perfecting the process. So it's a win for everybody involved. And they also get a discounted experience while you perfect the process. Next, I told you, these are go do them right now. The third move that I want you to make right now, and this is one that I believe that is the most simple, and most of you are skipping. This is what inspired this entire episode, is because when my client told me on office hours, essentially, Amanda, I need to make money, My question back to her was, "Hey, when was the last time you actually talked about your offer?" And offhand, she couldn't really tell me. She's like, "I think I talked about it at the beginning of the month." And so this is the one simple thing that will change everything, and that is tell people what you are selling directly. Not, "I have some exciting things coming," or, "If you're interested in help," or, "I can support you." But you actually have to say what it is that you are giving them. So this isn't honestly just a do this for one day situation. This should be something that is a natural part of what you do. For you, it might seem super, super obvious that you are selling coaching services. But what I can promise you is that for others, it is not obvious. I still have friends that follow me who aren't my ideal client and are like, "Can you tell me what it exactly is that you do?" And that always is like, dang, if they don't know, am I doing a great job? They're not my ideal client, so I know they're not super tapped in. They don't understand my pain points and things I talk about aren't relative. But your client should understand that you have a coaching service and your language that you speak should be pulling them in like there's a rope around them and you are pulling them closer and closer. So the breadcrumb right now is I need you to go talk about the thing that you do in one post, in one story, in one email, in one conversation. Name the offer, what it does, the results it gets. You're just not hedging. You're not just dancing around it. It's being direct. If you want to sell your coaching services, you have to talk about your coaching services and you have to talk about them consistently. There is a direct correlation to frequency of conversation to purchases. That's just, and that can happen in email, that can happen in DMs, it can happen in stories, in LinkedIn, in Substack. It doesn't really matter in your Zoom group, in your circle group, in your school group. But we have to let go of this idea that one of two things. They get it already, or I'm just going to give them all the free stuff and eventually they'll think I'm so great they'll buy. That was a struggle that I had in the beginning. So, three quick ways to go and check yourself about selling your services, right? So, it's low hanging fruit, drop a messy offer out there that makes sense for a next step, talk about your services consistently. Like challenge yourself 30 days, 30 times. I don't know. Can you do that? Are you ready to do that? But here's kind of where I want to move in from just the practical strategy is these are not just long-term scaling. These are not necessarily the long-term scaling tactics. I do believe these are a part of what are necessary. They're kind of short-term power moves. They work because you've already built up trust somewhere and you're cashing in on it fast. So all the things I just talked about should be to an audience that already sees you, knows you. But if you're leaning into these every single month because you don't have a rhythm, because selling only happens when you're panicked and you're like, "Oh crap." And then you go hard for 3 days and you get a sale and you let off the gas, then you're selling because of reaction instead of being proactive. And that's not for me, that's not a business. That's just like a freaking fire drill. And I don't want to be responding in my business because it's a fire drill. Fire drills are exhausting. They're scary. You can't building something sustainable when you're constantly operating off this like a little adrenaline hit alone. So my goal for you is to take this episode and use these things this week if you need to, if this episode speaks to you. Or maybe you don't necessarily need this fast cash, but you're like, I'm not doing these things consistently. So this is just the nudge I needed. But I want you thinking bigger than just 1 week, 7 days, an empty bank account. Because the coaches who last in the industry, to be frank, are the ones who aren't just great in a crisis. They're the ones who've built something that has a rhythm because I don't want you feeling exhausted, depleted, exhausted, depleted. That's totally not the goal here. And so, to be honest, today is kind of a kicker off of what I'm going to spend the entire month focusing on here, which is all about sales. This is exactly what the podcast is honing in on for the rest of August as you listen. This is the kickstart. This is kind of meant to be part one of my entire sales series. Like fast cash today, great. Let's get some quick wins. But it's exactly also what we're going to lead into for the rest of the month, which is totally focused on sales, which I never thought I would be so excited to talk about selling things because when I started my business, I hated it. It felt super icky. It felt gross. I really had a hard time wrapping my head around, and I've said this a million times on the show, like, how is somebody going to pay for my services? What? I'm doing this? You want me? I'm the expert. You want to give me that money? It was almost like I want to be like, "Ah, here's some money back. I just really love this. I'll do it for free." And I know some of you feel that way exactly. And so I've definitely learned some things to lean into that make selling effortless for me, that make selling super fun, that make selling exciting, that make selling feel not gross at all. And this is exactly what I'm kind of building a super special something for you guys around. I'm just dangling it here. Next week, you definitely have to tune back in because I'm going to be sharing something that we're launching on September 1st, or we're starting. We're not launching it. We're starting September 1st. So I need you to just earmark September 1st as a date that is the starting point of something that is going to radically shift how easy it is to sell your coaching services. And I can't wait to tell you more about it. Total cliffhanger. I'm not going to take you there yet. I'm going to wait till next week's episode because I want you to focus on going out and implementing and getting in this sales mindset. And then when we come back together for part 2 of this series next week, you're going to be able to see an opportunity to be with me in real time over a course of 21 days that's going to radically make the way you show up to talk about your services different, better, effortless. And you're going to get some breakthroughs around what's stopping you so we can move those out of the way and help you identify what helps selling stick for you. So, I my homework for you from this episode is do one of the 3 things or all of the 3 things I mentioned. I want you to take it. I want you to put it into action, but I also want you to start asking yourself this harder question. What would it look like in your business if selling wasn't something you scrambled to do or felt totally weird about or hesitated about, and instead it became something that you actually enjoyed doing and did on purpose inside of your business? So I am so excited to share this something special I've been working on behind the scenes, and that'll be on next week's episode. If today's episode helped you, then yay! I can't wait to hear about it. Shoot me a message. I just love hearing from listeners and things that just really resonate with them. And of course, you can leave me a review, tell me about it there, or even just go ahead and go to this specific episode, click the 3 dots on the right typically. It should give you copy that link, and then post it in a group chat or a chat to a friend. I'm sorry, a text to a friend or into a community of coaches that you know would definitely benefit. And you're definitely going to want to share next week episode and invite your friends to this super special something that I'll be sharing more about in part 2 of our selling series. So until next week, go coach them up.